Season 2, episode 2. Let's go. I think, okay, this is called Demon Pigeons Attack. So this is going to be like Chariot Race. And I assume just like Percy and Annabeth leaving for the quest. Also, the Clarice's quest selection, I think, is going to be in this. When Annabeth like whispers to her and is like, don't pick Percy. I'm so excited. 45 minutes. This is good stuff.
Trust me.
Percy?
Annabeth? Getting trouble's like breathing for me.
No way.
Chiron!
He's on a beach holiday.
Where are you?
Oh, he's
in
with
Miami.
No, he's not with the
Visiting
party.
relatives.
Because I can be very persistent when I mark my prey.
Percy got a tight lip smile. He got someone's calling me. Whatever. That was cute.
Can you back up a little?
Oh, Clarice. Oh, Clarice. No, my girl. They start dating later in the books. Clarice. Oh my gosh, you precious angel.
Shut up, Jackson! Aren't you supposed to be in lockdown?
That was really cute. I already know this season they're going to be like characterizing and developing Clarice way more than in the books. And I love that.
The Great Prophecy.
I will tell you.
Chiron's saying Percy can't go on the quest because it's either that like it's gonna be hard for him to survive, or that they like need him to survive for the Great Prophecy to happen. I don't know what the logic is there.
Am I supposed to tell Percy?
Yeah.
I can't lie to him.
Sure you can.
I'm sorry, Annabeth.
Girl, you gonna have to.
Not only can you not tell him, he can't know there's something he can't know.
That's obviously not gonna work.
Percy, do you safe camp? Working on it.
I'm like genuinely crying about
You met
this.
Dad before.
That's why I'm asking you to do it.
Oh my god. She's really like, yeah. Dang. Oh my god.
Oh, someone's dead.
As your camp director and as a parent to at least some of you.
You came to me, not Tantalus. And those numbers aren't even the right.
See, this is why I love this part of the book where they're like, sit down. Who? Chris Rodriguez?
Chris Rodriguez.
Oh, yeah. Oh my god, of course. That's so funny.
Has been authorized to shoot on sight anyone or I get scared in the dark.
Oh
I know,
my
but
god.
staying here now. How does Annabeth feel about that?
Ooh.
I really don't care.
Not yours, kid. But I come bearing gifts and a special message from your pops.
Annabeth, hey, thanks for coming by. It's pretty creepy in here all.
Like,
What? What are you talking about?
Middle school, roller coasters, movies, all that stuff you wanted me to experience. It wasn't fun. It wasn't relaxing. I was bored out of my mind.
Did you watch Jaws?
wait,
We can't ever return.
I forgot about that. I love that episode. Yeah, that was tea. That's all I gotta say. Hello. Okay, it's like randomly really dark right here. I don't know why. But maybe I'll put you over here. I'm in the spot that I filmed like most of my season 1 breakdown analysis things, so we're back. But yeah, I'm gonna do my little discussion of season 2 episode 2. I feel like, again, I say this every single time where I say that I don't have a ton to say, but I do. So whatever, we'll get into it. I feel like I said a lot of stuff in my episode 1 breakdown, but you know, this is still going to be long, I'm sure. So let's just get right into it. So starting off in this episode, I'm doing this from memory, so I'm just going to try to hit like the biggest plot points. I forget how this episode starts, but we start with like we're setting up the chariot race, right? First of all, the chariot race scene like technically was so good. It was like, it was giving budget, it's giving we have practical sets. It was incredible. I loved all the stunts, everything, the visuals, boom boom boom, love it. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. Basically, Percy has his dream from last episode, where he's like figures out they need to get the fleece, that whole thing. So he goes and talks to Annabeth about it. They sort of start to formulate a plan. Basically, they have the coordinates. They're gonna go to this spot. They're gonna try to get a quest to go to this spot to save the golden fleece, to save Thalia's tree, and then also save Grover in the process, since he happens to be in the same spot, just cause of powers and magic and stuff. So that's the vision, that's the plan. They're locked in, but they're also trying to win the chariot races. And so they begin to have this plan of like getting Tantalus. They're like trying to get Tantalus distracted so that Annabeth can go into Chiron's office. I'm not exactly sure why Annabeth needed to go into the office. Maybe it was to get a drachma. I'm gonna go with that. But she had to get a drachma and then set up the iris message, so maybe that's why she went to his office. So they had to distract Tantalus, which is why Percy like leaves his cabin, because he's on cabin confinement. There it is. He's on cabin confinement, so he's not allowed to leave, so he leaves, so Tantalus is distracted. He starts threatening Percy. There's this really funny line where Tantalus is like, it's something along the lines of like, oh, you think you're smart, don't you? And Percy goes, not really, no. Like, come on. There were so many lines in these first 2 episodes that I heard, and I was just like, these are so like from the book, like just, I don't know, there's just something about them. So yeah, I love that. And then, so they're out there. Annabeth breaks into the cabin, or into Tantalus's office, Chiron's office, whichever, which, by the way, has a painted portrait of Chiron in it, which I'm obsessed that, like, Chiron commissioned his own painted portrait, like, period. And so she calls Chiron and is basically like, what do? We need to get this quest so we can save camp. Chiron is with the party ponies. Shout out. I've heard some people predicting that the party ponies won't be in this season. So like maybe they won't be, but we did get a mention of them. Chekhov's party pony, if you know what I mean. But yeah, there's that. And then we get the big introduction of Chiron. Chiron like setting Annabeth up in a horrible way, which, like, Chiron, it's clownery on Chiron's part, basically. And this bit I'm sort of not completely clear on, but Chiron tells Annabeth that because of the Great Prophecy, which is like the overarching big through line of the whole series, because of that, Percy can't go on this quest because he needs to stay safe, is what I'm getting from this. And he tells Annabeth, he's like, Annabeth, you can't tell Percy about the prophecy, and you also can't, like, you can't let him know anything, and you also can't let him know that you're not letting him know anything. Okay, Chiron, sure. Like, okay. But I want to sort of try to dissect this a little bit, because I'm sure as the episodes go on, maybe by the end of the season, if we meet back up with Chiron at some point, maybe this will get more cleared up, but I could also see it not getting cleared up, because we're really not supposed to know the Great Prophecy until the last book. So, I don't know. But here's what I do know. In the books, Annabeth knows the Great Prophecy since she was 10, I'm pretty sure. She gets told the prophecy very early on before she meets Percy. And it's a whole thing of like, she knows the prophecy, and they also, like, Chiron tells her that at some point she will go on a quest with someone, like a child of the big three gods, and that will like be huge for her, and this will like start the Great Prophecy. And that's obviously like the lightning thief. So like from sort of the beginning of her knowing Percy, she knows the Great Prophecy. She knows what that entails in the books. I'm like 99% sure. And then in the show, what I'm getting is that Annabeth doesn't know the Great Prophecy. So in season 1, I'm assuming she was told by Chiron the same thing, that like she's gonna get a quest with a child of the big three gods that is gonna be like really important for her, but he didn't tell her the Great Prophecy side of it. So that's like disconnected from that. And then now is like the first time he's mentioning the Great Prophecy to her as like something that pertains to Percy, which is crazy. And so this is like the first time Annabeth's hearing about it, I'm assuming. But the thing that's confusing to me is like, I'm not exactly clear on like why. Like, this sounds crazy. This sounds crazy. But Chiron for years has been trying to like sort of put off the Great Prophecy from happening. That's why the big three stopped having kids, because they were trying to hold it off. And so in my mind, you would think Chiron would want Percy to die, like in an objective way. Percy dies, and then the Great Prophecy doesn't happen for a few more years until the next big three kid comes along, right? Like, that makes the most sense to me. But also, I'm assuming at this point, since Luke's army is rising and like Kronos is sort of stirring up again, that Chiron has sort of accepted like, okay, the Great Prophecy is happening, and we want Percy to be the kid of the big three. Because it's interesting to think about, like, obviously in season 2, Percy's the only one that the Great Prophecy could be about. But by season 3, there are 2 more other people who, I mean, 3 kind of, if it depends on what part of the book you're counting, who could, I mean, okay, hold on. Let's rewind. Spoiler alert for book 3. Bianca could possibly be a child, or the child of the prophecy, but she dies. Nico could fully be a child of the prophecy, and then Thalia could be a child of the prophecy, but then she becomes a hunter, so that's no longer really a thing. But it's like taking Bianca out of that equation, because she is taken out of the equation real quick. If Chiron had some sort of inkling that Thalia was gonna somehow come back, if he like knew the power of the Golden Fleece, knows something we don't, knows that Thalia's state isn't as like dead or dormant as we think it might be, he could have like possibly seen a future in which Thalia was brought back to life, and like if it were to be Thalia or Percy, he probably would want Percy to be the child of the big three gods, because Percy has proven that he's like against Luke. And so all this to say, Chiron, I understand, as I talk through it, I understand it more. So there we go. Chiron wants Percy to be the child of the prophecy because he's shown that he's like loyal to the camp, loyal to the campers, with the gods in a sense way more than Luke is, against Luke really is what it is, and he knows that Percy's like tough and can do it, or would be their best bet. I just got a podcast notification. So yeah, that's Chiron C. And so he's basically like, Annabeth, Percy needs to not die, so he actually can't go on this quest with you. And Annabeth is like, oh, okay. Okay. Perfect. So we go to the chariot races. Basically Percy's like, okay, so we just try to win. Or no, Percy's like, we should have a chariot together, obvi, then we win, and then we crush, and we get our quest. And Annabeth is like, no, we should actually have 2 separate chariots, double the chances. And Percy's like, okay. And so they do that. The whole chariot races ensue. Clarice is tough with it. Actually, I skipped an important part. Clarice, there's this really cute scene with Clarice when she goes up to Chris Rodriguez and she's like low-key trying to flirt with him, and he's like, can you back off? And she gets so embarrassed, and I'm just like, Clarice, it's okay, girl, it's gonna be okay. He's gonna come around, I promise you. Like, girl, once you nurse him back to health after the Battle of the Labyrinth, he will be falling at your feet. And then Percy has this hilarious little smile on his face as he's watching this go down. It's crazy. So that happens before the races as well. And then we pull up. It's like the Poseidon cabin, the Athena cabin, the Hephaestus cabin, the Ares cabin, and the Hermes cabin, I think, are the 5 in the race. One of them gets taken out like immediately, and it honestly might be the Hermes cabin, because Clarice immediately like spears someone's chariot, and it might be the Hermes cabin because of Chris. But that happens at one point. The Hephaestus chariot literally like explodes, and there's an iconic moment where a random boy who looks like maybe like Charles Beckendorf, kind of how he's described in the book, is like in the background in the Hephaestus cabin chariot and yells, "It's gonna blow," which is like, if you know, you know, Hephaestus cabin things. So Easter egg. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but it's there. Who else is there? I guess, okay. Then it's like Athena, Poseidon, and Ares. They're all fighting it out. It's really cool. Like, the Ares cabin has like spears on their tires. Tyson's like taking people out accidentally. It's so cute. And then I forgot to mention at the beginning, oh my gosh, there's this incredible moment where Percy's driving the chariot and Tyson's the one like fighting, and Percy goes, okay, remember, don't take out the Athena chariot. We want Annabeth or us to win. So like, don't attack the Athena chariot. And then immediately cuts to Annabeth and her sister Bronte. Annabeth being in the also steering position, Bronte in the fighting position. And Annabeth says to Bronte, she says, like, take out the Poseidon chariot if you can, like, if you can do it, do it. And Bronte goes, I thought you and Percy were tight. And Annabeth goes, I know, that's why I'm asking you to do it. It's so tea, because Annabeth can't have Percy win this race, because then he would be automatically in the quest, and she can't have that. So basically, the Poseidon chariot gets taken out or something. The Athena chariot gets taken out. Oh wait, the birds. I forgot the birds. The Stymphalian birds, the ones with the razor sharp beaks, they break through the barrier of camp, which Tantalus had been swearing up and down was fine, it was all good, whatever, it lies, obviously. And so Annabeth and Percy are both like stopping the race so that they can fix the barrier and stop the birds from killing everyone. And so Annabeth, with her beautiful brain, figures out that the birds are like pushed away by really high-pitched noises, and so they go to Chiron's cabin and get a cassette tape of Mariah Carey's Emotions and play it on a boombox and stop the birds. It's so fierce. It's so fierce. And I will say, I think the needle drops in this season have been much better than last season. I think there is still improvement to be made, to be honest. But, you know, it's better for sure. Because, like, last season, I'm thinking, like, Logical by Olivia Rodrigo was such a standout and such a good choice for Sally, like, sitting in the fire escape in the rain. That was incredible. But then I think about, like, in the Tunnel of Love, it was like, What is Love? That one. And then in the Lotus Casino, it was Levitating by Dua Lipa, I think. Dua Peep. I don't remember any other than that. But, like, I feel like this is so funny. Also, like, reading Rick's books, it's very clear that he's, like, a 60-year-old man. Because he has, like, Dean Martin and, like, these old songs that, like, no one would ever know. And I'm like, I love you, King, but, like, no one knows these songs. And it's just, like, not that any of those songs in season 1 are, like, songs that people don't know. It's just, like, not the most, like, chic and tasteful needle drops you could possibly have. That's just my opinion. But, like, none of them were bad. This season, we got, like, whatever was happening in episode 1 was cute. Like, there was something, I feel like something playing as Percy woke up or something, and then there was a song when they were in, when it, like, cut to them walking outside, it was, like, some, like, you know what I mean? Like, hip-hop song. Like, that was fun. I was like, this is, like, Percy vibes. And then when they were in the, what's it called? The Grey Sisters cab. I call it, is this called the Chariot of Damnation, or am I completely making that up? I don't know. But there was a song playing in there that was also good, very, like, Grey Sisters, like, groovy vibes. And then Emotions, I think, is, like, the peak of all of them. Such a good pull. And it, like, makes sense with the plot. Like, it's so good. So, that was fierce. They defeat the birds. While all this is happening, Clarice is still doing laps, which I'm obsessed with. She's still doing laps, and she wins the race. And so, it cuts to them. All of the campers and Tantalus and Dionysus and his little gay servant are all gathered in the big house. I think it is the big house. We're not really showing the exterior of where they're at, but I'm assuming it's the big house. They are all sitting there. It's honestly like, the set design, like, kind of freaks me out in, like, the best way sometimes, just because I just, like, have envisioned these places for years, and, like, seeing them just, like, sitting in this cozy little, like, this room, this wooden, like, there's couches. I love it. I love it. So they get there. Tantalus does this whole big thing of, like, he presents the information that Percy has told him about Percy's dream and, like, needing to get the fleece and the coordinates and saving a camp and all this stuff. Tantalus recites that to this group of people, like, messes up some of the details, and then Percy stands up and is like, that's not even right, this is my dream, those coordinates weren't right, and everyone's like, boo, who is this kid, sit down, Jackson. And that made my life. It was like, that's how he needs to be treated. He's not supposed to be cool until he's cool, you know what I mean? Like, there's, like, a shift at some point, and I do believe the shift is, like, dare I say, when he shows up to his own funeral. I feel like that's, like, the point. That, or, like, after the Battle of the Labyrinth, like the literal battle that happens at camp. After that, I feel like people at camp are sort of like, okay, Percy's kind of talented and cool. But before then, no, he's not respected in this place. But yeah, everyone's like, sit down. And so Tantalus announces, he's like, well, one person did finish the chariot race, and that's Clarice LaRue. So he gives her flowers, and it's this great moment. Dior, act down, because she's sitting there and she's like, she hears her name and she's like clearly shocked and like didn't expect to get this moment of recognition, but then she immediately stands up and is like, yeah, and it's like, you're so cute. And then she gets to choose her people for the quest, the 2 other people for the quest, and Annabeth immediately Percy leans over to Annabeth across the aisle, leans over to her and is like, so what's the plan? And Annabeth doesn't talk to him, and she just stands up and is like, we work really well together, my brain matches your might, we're good, like we are such a good team. And Clarice is like, yeah. And so she gets Annabeth on the quest, and as Annabeth is walking up to like join Clarice standing up there, Percy's like, good idea, because he thinks that Annabeth is gonna convince Clarice to pick him as the other person, and she doesn't, and it's so heartbreaking, because then it's Clarice and Annabeth up there, and Annabeth whispers something in Clarice's ear, because it's after Percy then stands up and is like, you're gonna be on the water, you're gonna want us on a Poseidon, come on now, which is like the obvious choice. And Clarice clearly is like about to like put their differences aside and be like, you know what, sure, like he can come. But then Annabeth whispers something in Clarice's ear and is like, clearly is saying like, don't pick Percy. And Clarice whispers something back, and Annabeth whispers something again, and Clarice goes, okay, I pick Chris Rodriguez. Right. So that's very beautiful. And just like the look on Percy's face was just like pure betrayal and disappointment and anger. It was so good. And then he just like, he storms out of the big house. And before he leaves, though, Tantalus is like, anyone who tries to leave camp or like hijack a quest or anything is gonna be killed and is never allowed back. And then he leaves, and it's like, oh. And something I'm wondering about in the future episodes, because obviously by the end of this episode we know Annabeth is sort of gone. I wonder if Clarice and Chris are still gonna go on the quest together, or like if they're gonna pick a new person, because I was under the impression that it was just gonna be Clarice, because that's what it is in the book. I'm pretty sure. I don't know why it would be just her, but I'm pretty sure in the book it is just her. So I don't know, maybe they'll pick some like other people, but I feel like Chris being there would be shocking to me, because then I would think that his actor would be one of like the series regulars, which he isn't. So logistically, I wonder what's gonna happen with that. But then Percy goes back to his cabin. Tyson's there. He's so cute. Like, I actually cannot emphasize enough how good Daniel Deemer is in this role. Like, I never could have expected. Like, if you told me one of my favorite parts about the season so far is gonna be Tyson, I would have laughed in your face. Like, I keep saying this, but I really did hate Tyson in the books. It's like, I'm infamous for being the Tyson hater with my friends who have all read Percy Jackson. Like, some of them love Tyson, and I'm known as like the one who despises him. I think he's stupid. I'm so sorry. In the way that, like, I feel like Grover in the books is kind of stupid and then was made way better in the show, I feel the exact same way about Tyson. It's such an improvement. And so, oh my god. And so basically Percy goes to his cabin and Tyson's there, and he explains that he's leaving. Like, once the sun goes down, he's leaving camp. And Tyson is like, but I'm gonna be all alone here. Don't leave him. Don't leave him. It's so cute. And this makes me think, like, going into the future episodes, spoiler alert, there is a point in which there's like a fake out death of Tyson where like the book makes us think that Tyson died and sacrificed himself for Percy, but then he comes back later and he's not dead and it's all good. But like, that might break me a little bit. So anyway, I'm just really, really glad that they made Tyson so sweet and likable, because like, he has to be on this quest with them. He's a big part of this season and I don't want to not like him, so I'm glad they did that. Also, I feel like I'm glad they're sort of toning down how much Annabeth and Percy are like a little weary of Tyson. Like, Annabeth has reason to be a bit, well, not really. Annabeth hates Cyclopses because I'm pretty sure a Cyclops is what killed Thalia. And Grover knows that, and Grover like tells this to Percy. Doesn't tell that, but in Percy's dreams, Grover is talking to him and he's like, was there a Cyclops with you? And Percy's like, yeah, that's Tyson. And Grover's like, how does Annabeth feel about that? And Percy goes, I don't care. And Grover goes, well, I'm not trying to get in the middle of this. I'm sure you both have your reasons for things, which is very, like, you know, he's the heart of the group, you know, he's not taking sides. It's so sweet. So yeah, I'm glad that they toned down the hate of Tyson, because with him being so likable now, that would have been, like, so sad to see. But it's already sad enough. The amount they're doing now is perfect. But yeah, Tyson is really cute and is sad that Percy's leaving and he's scared to be in the cabin alone. But Percy's like, you'll be good, bruh. And then I think Percy goes and lays down in his bed, and I think then is when he has the dream about Grover, and then they talk about the Cyclops and how Annabeth doesn't like Cyclopses and stuff. I think. Not entirely sure. At some point, it might have been last episode. No, I think it's in episode 2, is when we get the wedding dress reveal. I'm not entirely sure which episode, but the wedding dress reveal was gorgeous. I love that they also put Percy in it. I think that's just like such a fun added thing, especially with it being such an iconic thing for the fans, like Grover's wedding dress. Throwing a little twist in it that like Percy's also in the dress for a second. I think that's so cute. Yeah, and then he wakes up from his dream. It's dark, and he sneaks out of the cabin, and he goes and runs away. Then, actually, no, okay, Percy runs onto the beach. He tries to talk to his dad. He's sort of just, like, facing the ocean and is, like, talking to Poseidon, just, like, the water. And he's sort of just being, like, give me a sign if this is, like, a good idea, like, a sign that you're, like, here to protect me, because I'm, like, going on this quest on the ocean and stuff. And out of the mist, who do we see but Lin-Manuel Miranda? My name is Lin Miranda. I know you don't know who I am, but I wore these pants and I'm willing to dance like an idiot if you just give me the chance. No, literally. I'm like #blessed every day, because why is Lin-Manuel Miranda in this show? They did that for me, I fear. Like, my literal 2, like, childhood obsessions, Hamilton and Percy Jackson, like this. It's so crazy. And he's perfect as Hermes, I think. And so Hermes comes out of the fog, might I add, with no George and Martha. To be honest, I personally don't care that much, but it was an unfortunate loss. George and Martha are his 2 snakes that he has in the book. They're not here yet. Maybe they'll come later. But Hermes shows up and is basically like, Poseidon says it's okay, you can go on your quest. And he gives Percy some little things for his voyage because he's the god of travelers, so he helps him out a little bit. He gives him some multivitamins. He gives him a little thermos of wind, and that might be it. I don't remember what else he gives him. But obviously the thermos of wind they use at some point to like escape on a boat. They like blow themselves away. And then the multivitamins, I'm pretty sure, are for when Percy's a guinea pig and he has to turn back into human form. I'm pretty sure. I don't know. But that's that. He gets his little things. Then they have a conversation. Percy's sort of like, why are you helping me? What's the point of this? I actually don't remember exactly how it's brought up. But Hermes says something about, like, you're doing this quest to, like, save your friend, whatever. And Percy realizes in that moment that Hermes is helping Percy because he's trying to save Luke. And he, like, wants Percy to try and convince Luke that he can make up for this. Like, Luke can still come back. It's not all, like, he's not completely gone. Which, something that's been happening in these first 2 episodes that I feel is different from the book is that Percy is very insistent that Luke is gone. We can't save him. He's beyond saving. Which I don't really remember because, again, I haven't really read that much into Sea of Monsters yet. I'm getting there, I promise. But from what I remember, it's not until, like, book 4 when they really put together the Luke and Kronos stuff that Percy realizes that Luke is, like, really gone and, like, not coming back to their side. But Percy's very insistent upon it right now that Luke isn't Luke anymore. And I think that's tea. And Hermes doesn't think that. Hermes is like, he can still be saved. There's still time. And so Hermes is trying to save his son. And the line, oh my gosh, Percy says something about, like, why are you trying to save Luke? And Hermes says, he's my son. And Percy says, he hates you. And Hermes says, he's my son. Look at my son. Pride is not the word I'm looking for. Literally. Also, wait, other lines, they gave Lynn some fire lines. Like, it was giving enunciation, like syllable, not syllables, punctuation, maybe. It was like, when he comes and, like, gives the message from Poseidon, he's like, Percy's like, that's all he said? And he goes, well, he's not the god of excessive verbosity. Come on. And then there's this part where, I don't even know what prompts it, but Hermes is, like, talking about, like, the lyre, like, the instrument, or Percy calls him a liar, maybe, and, like, Hermes responds with this, like, 3-line pun about, like, there's something with, like, the lyre, but he's talking about, like, the instrument, the lyre, but then he's like, well, I wouldn't harp on it. Like, if you know, you know what I'm talking about. It was just, like, this crazy long line, and I loved it. And then, he's my son. Oh, it's just, Hermes is kind of heartbreaking. Just because he's, like, one of the gods we see the most in the books, which is so interesting because Luke felt, like, so abandoned by him, but yet we see so much of him once Luke loses control. Because, like, he shows up then, and then I just remember at the end in book 5, Hermes is, like, still holding out hope for Luke. And oh my gosh, and doesn't he, like, get mad at Annabeth for not saving Luke or something when she had the chance? I'm getting so ahead of myself. But basically, scene with Hermes, perfect. Yeah. Wait, and then the other line I want to talk about, he says, Oh my gosh. Percy brings up Vegas because the last time they saw Hermes was when they were in Vegas. And I think Percy says, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? And then Hermes goes, what happens in Vegas is the reason for half the kids in the Hermes cabin. Like, why? This is episode 2 for 2 sex jokes in Percy Jackson. I find it hilarious. I think they know their audience is a little older than what they were probably anticipating. And so they're throwing in some treats. I love that. Then cut back to the Poseidon cabin. Annabeth goes up to the cabin door, and I am just like obsessed with like the layers of like every single character that we've seen so far has layers and secrets and things that they're putting on as like a front and all of this stuff. But I feel like Annabeth especially is doing that a lot. She's trying to be chill. She's trying to be like a good friend and be there for him. But it's like this constant thing of her being stuck in between the demigod world and like the normal world, where like she's trying to go to Percy's doorstep and like have a conversation with this boy that she may or may not like, and she's just trying to sort of like connect with him. But at the same time, there's all of these things like what Chiron's telling her and the quest and all of these demigod things that are getting in the way of that. And so that's crazy. And so like obviously in episode 1 we have the conversation where she's like, do you want to go on a walk and like talk with me for a second? And Percy sort of like doesn't reject her, but he doesn't say yes. And so she sort of shuts down and is like, it's fine, never mind. And then in episode 2 we see that she's trying once again to approach Percy, and after this big conflict of like her not choosing him for the quest and everything, and her clearly telling Clarice that she doesn't want him on the quest, Annabeth is again trying to like mend this and be able to do her demigod duties to Chiron, but also maintain this relationship. It's so like, Annabeth, girl, you got too much going on. So she goes up to the doorstep. Obviously Percy isn't there. Tyson is there though. And he's the cutest ever because she goes up and knocks on the door and Tyson opens it and he says, Annabeth, thanks for stopping by. Oh my gosh. Like, he's just immediately so excited to see her, even though she's like not been super nice to him. And then she's like, hey, where's Percy? And he basically is telling her that like he's gone off on his own, but the way he phrases it is so cute because he's like, well, I know a quest is when 3 friends go together, but what's it called when one friend goes by himself? And I love that he's calling, like, instead of saying like people, he's saying friends. Oh, it's actually too much. He's so cute. Every single line they wrote for him was such a banger, I just have to say. But yeah, then Annabeth realizes that Percy is gone, so she she runs to go find him by the shore. And little do we know, Tyson also followed Annabeth. So Annabeth pulls up on the shore, and then this is like the big climax, like, conversation of the episode, which is basically Annabeth pulls up to the beach. Percy is like, you can't stop me. And Annabeth is like, well, I can't lose another friend, being like, she refuses to let him like go on this quest alone and be reckless and dangerous because she can't afford to lose another person she cares about, because she's already lost Thalia, she's lost Luke, she's lost Grover, she has no one. And so she's very tense about that. And so they start to have this conversation about like where their miscommunication is coming from. Percy is basically like, clearly you're not telling me things, and like if that's how you want to do it, then that's okay, but I just like, you're just clearly holding back. And Annabeth is like, I didn't like it. And he's like, what? And she's like, middle school, roller coasters, movies. I didn't like it. I was bored out of my mind. It's so good. It's this moment of like her, it's like this thing that he convinced her last season that he was like, okay, rewind. Annabeth has been stuck at camp for like, since she was 7, she's now 13. And so like for most of her like cognizant, I don't know, the years that she really like remembers, she's been in the demigod world. And even before that, she was still like getting attacked by monsters and stuff, and her parents didn't believe her and like all this stuff. All of the stuff that matters to her has been in the demigod world, like Chiron, Luke, Thalia, Grover. All of those people are in that world. Her home is Camp Half-Blood. Like, she really just knows how to be a demigod. Then season 1, Percy shows up and essentially gives this like completely new perspective to her, where he's like, all of the great things in my life are from the mortal world, like my mom, movies, skateboarding, like roller coasters, all of these fun things that like make up my life are from this other world that you haven't seen yet. And so at the end of season 1, she goes home to her family, her mortal family, and she gives those things a chance, almost as if like to see like, almost to like learn more about Percy, but like obviously it's not necessarily about him, just for her to get a more well-rounded thing. But at the same time, all of these things are like things that Percy loves. And so she has like a hard time admitting to him that she's like not normal, in the sense that she can't just enjoy these things that are supposed to be like frivolous things for fun and things that he specifically really enjoys. Like, she finds it so hard to admit that to him that she almost like failed at being a normal kid. Because I feel like Annabeth as a character doesn't like to be not good at things, doesn't like to be limited. She wants to be multifaceted. She wants to do all these different things, and it's almost like she's really struggling to do that. And I really connect that with like the senior year adventures, especially Wrath of the Triple Goddess. I feel like really emphasized how when Annabeth is like in her zone, she's comfortable, she's like matured, and sort of gotten past this era of feeling like the world is on her shoulders. When she's just like in school and she's living in New York City and she's like with Percy, she's like a people person, and she really enjoys, like, she wants to throw a Halloween party for her friends, and she likes to go to cafes. Like, I love seeing these early moments from like the second book of how Annabeth feels so closed off from the outside world, and then seeing in the future where she ends up and how she ends up being like so into it. Like, it's so sad to see right now, because Annabeth at this point feels like those things just aren't for her, and maybe some of them aren't, but like at the same time, as she grows and like gives it more of a chance, she does learn to love the mortal world things. And I just love that. Like, there's just so many details and there's so much lore about it that just builds up such like a rich character for Annabeth, and also dynamic between her and Percy, because then in that scene Percy responds by being like, and this means that we can't be friends, because I don't think that's true. Percy is essentially, and this is like their whole relationship, is Annabeth is like overthinking things and like thinking so deeply about everything, which is like what has been happening this entire beginning, like these 2 episodes, is Annabeth clearly has so much happening in her mind all the time, and Percy's really just trying to like keep up. And so Percy is just like, that doesn't matter to me. Like, the stuff that you're worried about and stuff that you think is making us conflict it doesn't matter. And And so he's like, that stuff doesn't matter actually, which was like the root of their original conflict. So there's like layers to this conflict, right? There's like the stuff, she didn't like the mortal world that much, and then there's like Tyson, she's not completely set on Tyson yet, and then there's like the Chiron stuff. Maybe we'll flip that because Tyson comes later, but the Chiron stuff sort of gets discussed right now, where basically Percy's like, you didn't like the mortal world, that's okay, that doesn't matter to me, but what is like this thing that you're keeping from me? Why couldn't you choose me for this quest? And Annabeth tells him, which she wasn't supposed to do, she tells him that there's something she knows that he's not supposed to know, and he's not supposed to know that she knows it, but then she tells him that she knows it, so sort of erases one layer of the secrecy. And she's basically just like, it's for your own good, like Chiron told me to, bruh, I can't do nothing about it. And she says like, everything has changed, everything is changing so fast, it's all this stuff. She's freaking out. And the thing that makes me wonder is like, she doesn't know the great prophecy though, but she knows that things are changing. So I wonder to like what extent can Annabeth infer what the great prophecy is. That's my question. But then Tantalus storms onto the beach. He figures out that they're there, and he tries to kill them. But before he can, Tyson comes out of the woods and tackles him. And then Percy and Annabeth get onto this little boat that's popped up. And then Tyson jumps onto, and then they start to go away, and Tantalus shoots at the boat with a bow and arrow, by the way, which is fierce. Or a crossbow. He shoots a hole in the like raft sort of thing, and I loved this moment. It's very subtle, but like an arrow goes into the raft they're on, and immediately Tyson is like, where's the first aid kit? Give me a band-aid. Like, he immediately problem solves and patches up that hole, which is another thing of like, I'm so glad that they're not making Tyson stupid. Like, he is a team player, he's an asset to their team, and clearly he's like the Brawn. He loves making things, he loves fixing things. It's so fierce. I love it. So boom, and then Tantalus shoots another arrow, and Percy hits it out of the sky with his sword, which is so cool. Like, they could have not done that, but they did that, and I love that they did that. And then they kind of just leave, and then they're off on their quest. But then when they're going away, like the last lines of the episode are them being like, we can never go back to camp, which obviously isn't true, but at that point they think it's not true. So yeah, remember when I said this wasn't gonna be long? Yeah. So yeah, I love this episode. Like, yeah, and I'm so excited for episodes 3 and 4 because some behind the scenes info for like the press people, the interviewers and all that stuff, the journalism, people were sent early screeners of the first 4 episodes. So everything that we've heard about the series from people who have gotten those early things, where they can't really talk too much about the contents of it, obviously, and they can't spoil, but they can say their thoughts. They've said, I've heard a lot that like episode 3 is really good and episode 4 is really good. And I don't remember which episodes are which. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen on these 2. I don't know if either of them is Cersei or the Sirens, but if they are, yes! And someone said that in episode 4 there's like a scene or something that is like the most Persebeth that has ever Persebethed. That's what I'm thinking. Maybe that's Cersei, but I don't know if that's too early. Like, I don't remember when Cersei comes into the picture. So I'm so excited. But obviously, like, I've heard a lot about 3 and 4, but people haven't seen any of 5, 6, 7, 8, so I'm sure those are fire as well. No one really knows what those ones are yet. So yes, that's all Bye.